So I would say that expect to work to people, because I notice sometimes in the community, I think that they don't want to, get that pain of discipline. So you're either going to get two types of pain in life: is the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. I'd much rather the pain of discipline now than look back and regret or face God and be like, hey, you didn't.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Leave Your Legacy Show. I'm your host, Kenyon Murray. And today we have, I would say, a brother in arms, somebody that I've met through another great group of men called The Winning Edge. So please welcome Jeff Fisher to the show. Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Kenyon. Thank you so much for having me. Again, I really appreciate it. And yeah, shout out to Thomas William, The Winning Edge. It's been amazing being a part of the group.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a special band of brothers there for sure. And I know we didn't connect at the last retreat, so hopefully we'll get you at one of the next ones. But for our audience, the one thing that we talk about on the Leave Your Legacy Show is how people are changing lives around them, how they're changing their community, how they're actually leaving a legacy. So for my viewers that may not follow Ride the Wave or know Jeff Fisher, tell us a little bit about your story, like where you're from, where you grew up and those kind of things. I think everybody wants to get to know Jeff Fisher a little bit better.
Yeah, thanks. So I grew up in Parsippany, New Jersey. My mother, my stepfather raised me. I have an older brother, Bill. I had a really a good upbringing. It was in a suburban area. I had pretty much anything that I needed. I rode my bike around town. Anything that I had early on with myself was a little bit self-driven. I didn't take the traditional path, didn't really know what I wanted to do, was more concerned a little bit outside of high school, hanging out with friends and certain things like that. I did, through a series of connections and relationships, end up getting into business, but I always felt like something was missing.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like there was a lack of purpose in my life, even though I was social. And even though, people may have not seen it, underneath there was definitely something that was missing on my end. I did a lot of self-development behind the scenes when no one was looking.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we all, like, self-development is like the key right now, right? I think it's something that I think people feel like if they do something or accomplish something, then they've arrived. But you talk about development, personal development, like that's one of those things that's always cyclical. So was there a moment where you just was like, I got to figure out like what my purpose is or why I'm really doing the things I'm doing? Was there kind of an aha moment, or was it something that developed in you gradually?
Yeah, it was gradual. It kicked off when I remember my friend's ex-girlfriend, at that time his girlfriend, there was a book on the shelf, and it was Eckhart Tolle's Power in Now. And
Mm-hmm.
it kicked off in me this sort of spiritual journey where I was exploring various things, Buddhism, Hinduism. So it really came from a spiritual exploration originally. I had a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth over Christianity when I was younger. So I was a little afraid of exploring that. But for me, it kicked off a journey of self development. And Tony Robbins, for example, I had a cassette tape of him. Behind the scenes, somebody like John Maxwell, John Gordon. So I always had that kind of drive behind the scene, taking notes down and reflection journals, things like that, to try to improve myself as much as I could during that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I always had a little bit of hustle, but I always was curious. I wanted to know what life was about. I always felt like there was something more that I was missing. But at that time, it was very much with, the lonely ghost syndrome, walking around because I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, or I wanted a really nice car. So I pursued businesses and things like that more because I wanted to prove myself, get a nice car, things like that. But man, did that change later on, though.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I think, when you start thinking about purpose, right? I think the things that we felt mattered at one point in time, they don't anymore. And I
Yeah.
really feel like it's all about like finding your purpose in life, because we talk about it. We feel that we each have a purpose in life. So, let me ask you this question. You talk about kind of a spiritual journey. Was there, a lot of people that I'm talking to nowadays who are strong in their faith have maybe gone outside of the actual confines of, say, religion, and they've kind of found their own personal relationship with a higher power. Is that kind of your story as well? Because I know I can say that for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, I didn't really have with Christianity, so that's my path. That's my testimony. I was
Hmm.
praying for whatever reason. I was going through a hard time. My stepfather at the time had Alzheimer's, pretty severe dementia. And I was living with my mom at the time, trying to. So there was, for some whatever reason it was, I prayed downstairs at my mom's place for like 5 times. I felt something. Long story short, I took a walk. I was going to go to the track. That same day, I felt something like a wave. I helped somebody who was digging a mail post. There was an older man struggling with somebody else, and it ended up being the guy's father-in-law. He ended up being a pastor at a
Mm.
church. And I thought, man, wow, what is the timing of that I would feel that way? Started to explore. I realized that there were some terms in scripture and Bible that I didn't really know. I didn't
Hmm.
realize what they were. And I was, all right, I had to take a proactive approach here and explored it. Changed my life. I accepted Jesus. And ever since then, when I did, it started to create a series of unlikely connections in the neighborhood that led to the catalyst, the ride the wave, essentially. So it really is the core. For me, faith is where the fight is, and everything
Yeah.
branches off of that too.
No, it's awesome. I mean, it flows right into what I was going to ask next. Obviously, Ride the Wave is your baby, is it's your
Yeah.
project. So tell us a little bit about Ride the Wave and kind of the basis or foundation behind that initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. So God has called us on a big purpose to build an all-inclusive, modern, university-style campus for people experiencing being unsheltered, a place where they could go and not leave into their best selves,
Hmm.
leveraging servant, conscious, and positive leadership. What I would love to do, just like somebody like yourself, Kenyon, maybe you be on that stage too, just teaching everybody to empower them. Because what we feel is that no matter what level you're at, you could be sweeping up floors, but leadership skills, especially servant, you could get things that you want. You could have the confidence to be able to grow within an organization. There's so many just positive aspects. How to be a go-giver, mental health strategies, but from a business perspective. So it started when I met Daryl. I was walking across the street from where my mom lives. There's a convenience store. I
Hmm.
felt a wave come over me. God called me to check on Daryl, who was homeless in a van. I pushed through the nerves, and when I did, I really, really fueled him with encouragement. John Gordon does a one word every year. My one word was encouragement. And man, Kenyon, there was so much energy. I went back to my mom's house. I cried. Nobody really breaks that barrier anymore.
Hmm. That's awesome, man. Yeah, the one word, right? One word. It's interesting. Like sometimes the best things in life is to like simplify it. We put so many of
Yeah.
these pressures on ourselves, and you talk about like New Year's resolutions and things like that, right? Like, but it's usually like I want to do this or I want to accomplish this. I think if we can just focus on, like you said, one word, it makes it so much more. I wouldn't say attainable, but it keeps it so simplistic that you can live it day to day. And so,
Yeah.
like you said,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think more people should do that. It's funny. This is from coaching last night, but I told our kids, like, we have to simplify everything, simplify the dribble, simplify the pass. And if we do those things, the game comes a lot easier. So, do you feel like and I know John as well too. It's like, do you
Yeah.
feel that one word, like focusing on that one word has given you like more focused direction year after year? Have you done that?
Yeah, it's amazing. God along the journey ends up making it happen because you're right. It's like energy. Anthony Robbins, energy flows where focus goes. So
Mm.
when you're doing that and simplifying it, like I would take encouragement into conversations. I'd research it a little bit here and there. It was nothing drastic or too crazy or complicated. I think that we complicate so many things. Our tagline is the path is to the person because there's so many distractions around the
Mm.
personal connection. And when I learned and realized is that's where the true value is at. Anything that I've ever done prior, anything I've ever read or experienced
Hmm.
came through when I had unlikely friendships and I was curious about other people's stories.
Hmm. Yeah, going back to Daryl and that wave that came over you and the
Yeah.
emotion, you talk about, dignity over charity, dignity over charity. Could you explain that a little bit to our viewers, like what that really means to you? Because the thing is, a lot of us have opportunities to shepherd, right? And I think most people feel that it's certain acts that, will get us favor. But,
Yeah.
but, but in the real world, you talk about someone that's homeless or living in a shelter, like, I see what you're saying. Like there's there's some, I think they just want to be treated, like everybody else with respect. So could you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about, dignity over charity?
Yeah, absolutely. My book Wavemaker, there's 11 principles, for example, how to radiate positivity, nerves are normal, art of asking questions, leave with a gift. And the gift doesn't even have to be tangible.
Hmm.
It could be an encouragement like I did with Daryl. There's a formula to it. And I think that you nailed it with saying that people want to be treated with respect. It's about, and we're doing one-on-one Wavemaker mentorships where it would be a guide where you'd meet somebody where they're at. You develop a roadmap with them. They'll make mistakes along the way, but showing people respect, listening, looking them in the eye, they don't get that. People in town near me, they literally sometimes they'll look down on people like legit, just make a smirk at them, like it's just
Hmm.
not right. So I think that we have to show some humanity, and when you do that and you start to serve in that capacity, it's amazing because it's opposite. If life were a video game, right? You'd have to do something different anyway and go in there and cheat the code. But it's weird. It's a surrender.
Hmm.
You become enslaved to something that's bigger than yourself in a good way, though. So when you're doing that, for me anyway, it fuels me. It really is. It's that spiritual fuel that allows me to even understand scripture more connected to
Hmm.
people. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And it's interesting, you talk about shepherding because each one of us has a gift from God. We all have certain blessings depending on how we view blessings in our life, right? Some people view like if I don't have to worry about paying the light bill next month, like I'm blessed. But being able to give of yourself completely in a
Yeah.
way that is not about self gratification. It's about spreading grace, spreading mercy, and really showing people that you value them. And you said people smirk. You know what? Why do you think a lot of us look down on the homeless? Because if you think about their situation, if you take the time to get to know them, there's
Yeah.
probably something that's happened in their life that put them there. And the thing is, it may be something that you experienced, but they just didn't have the resources, the access, or the support to
Yeah.
overcome that situation. So, my question to you is, how do you live that day in and day out? Because it'd be real easy for you to just kind of walk by, I'm
Yeah.
doing good and this kind of things. Like, how do you engage in that stewardship day in and day out?
It takes presence, the ministry of presence first, and being there and showing up. It took a year and a half for me. I go to the mission. It's been a couple of weeks and it's been killing me that I didn't go. There's a mission in Morristown where the guys eat breakfast and I go. I try to go there weekly, no matter what I have going on, no matter how busy or, how life gets, because showing up does matter. And, it's
Mhm.
about being in the passenger seat while they drive too. And patience is really key because they're going to screw up. And there's just so many mental health challenges and things like that are out there. So that's really key is just showing up, let them see that. And then also, and it's tough because we get busy, but doing what you say you're going to do and being there.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. One of the things I've been blessed to do is be able to like provide clothing, shoes, that kind of stuff to the men's homeless shelter in Cedar Rapids. Obviously,
Yeah.
people know like how blessed our has been, and it's just when I went this past week and I got pulled up in my truck and it was so funny because one of the guys goes, he was sitting outside and on a bench. He goes, "Oh, I know you got some good stuff in that truck," right? It was like they were so excited to see me pull up, but it was like the look in their eye when I was able to like pull out some boxes. They were able to go through and like
Yeah.
pick out stuff that they wanted. It wasn't anything that was, it was, and the thing is like they appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think enough of us take the time because we live in such abundance here in the United
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
don't look at like it's a little thing like being able to provide a pair of shoes, whether brand new
Yeah.
or worn, right? I think if everybody took the outlook day in and day out like you do, we'd be a much better country because I think in a world where we're connected more now, we're connected to more people ever in human history. We're probably more disconnected when it comes to how we treat each other. Would that be something that you think, or am I completely off base with that?
Yeah. No, I think you make such a good point. I think that, and if I look at it, like I never thought I was going to be doing this just 3.5 years ago or so. So it's a
Right.
new world for me, but I've learned so much in a short period of time. What happens is I'm noticing that people that are good people at a certain level that are walking by, like you mentioned before, and not paying attention to others. I think it's a couple things. I think that one, it could be we're in our own algorithm, essentially. We're in our own worlds. We got to go to the kids. We got to go here. We got to go there. We're driven. So we're looking past someone. We're not looking down
Hmm.
on them. But if they don't exist, in our world, it is what it is. We got to take care of us.
Right.
Secondly, it could inadvertently, without somebody knowing, be like cause a fear in someone when that fear, and it causes some sort of anger of like, what if I was there? Or they may subconsciously not even realize that they're doing it because it would be
Hmm.
scary for them to be on that side. But I'll tell you what, if you're looking down on somebody, the shoe was on the other side, I think everybody should flip for a short period of time, right? Everybody who's poor should have
Yeah.
like really good living and vice versa, just for a little bit, because that will humble you.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I think all
Yeah.
of us need to have a little bit of humble pie every now and then. But the show is called Leave Your Legacy, and obviously you're building something, right? You're building something that I know, in talking to you, like you want it to last well beyond the time that Jeff Fisher is here on this earth. But
Yeah.
how do you feel what you're doing right now is leaving a legacy? Because the reality is, I tell people this all the time. It doesn't matter if you're a janitor, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor. Like, you're leaving a legacy for someone. Like,
Yeah.
someone is looking to you for guidance. They're looking to you for support. They're looking to you for
Yeah.
wisdom. How do you see Ride the Wave creating a legacy that can go on beyond the time that you're here on this planet?
Yeah. I think that when God struck me with that lightning bolt and I was chasing my spiritual tail, really getting after it and writing the book, I do believe that there's a formula if people connect to that they can connect to the person a certain way, and there'll be more of a series on that. Once that takes place, you know, we're doing outreach. So when I'm going out there outreach, we're also going to fill a gap in town for transportation.
Mm,
So those little things that cause trust, because building trust is the big part of it. So when I get to just have a conversation with somebody that says to me, "Oh, I got a job for your influences," just behind the scenes, not on social media or anything like that. It feels so good to just be positive to people, to care about them, and for them to be inspired to do something like that. So with the mentorship program, we were able to get somebody a job in a week. They were navigating the system for a couple of years.
wow.
So it's simple, man. It's really not that difficult. It's just sitting down with people and loving them and
Yeah.
then guiding them. And it's there's nothing more fulfilling. And then
Yeah.
in a spectacular way, Kenyon, there's a business angle too. Wavemaker leadership could teach businesses to tie foundations into their marketing uniquely. And we have the principles that set up to teach leaders how to inspire their team as well for
Yeah,
culture.
it's amazing. I mean, don't you think it's amazing that you have, you're connecting with these companies with, these guys that have done great things from a leadership standpoint, but then there's still things that we can help them implement, help teach them, help them embrace the community a little bit more. Because I think, like you said, when you chase the wrong things, you can get so jaded and you can lose sight of what's most important. Because yeah, wealth is great, but scripture tell us that with wealth and or with whatever it is, like, we have a responsibility. So oh God, what is it? To whom much is given, much is required, right? Like, that's such a
Yeah.
thing. So, like,
Yeah.
how do you feel leadership takes that with companies that you've worked with or leadership that you've talked to? Like, how do you feel that, do they embrace the idea of kind of shifting their process, shifting their mindset to, like, okay, we've accomplished all this, but now, like, let's figure out how we can connect with community and help, people that may need resources, access, those kind of things. Do you feel that leadership is more willing to accept those kind of things, accept a bigger purpose, as opposed to, just the stock market change day in and day out?
Yeah, I think so. I think that there's a lot of things that get pumped in the airwaves. The enemy is sending out a lot of negativity, but behind the scenes, like I just started a new position as a business development manager at ACT in East Hanover, New Jersey. And the gentleman, Frank, who owns the organization. He's a great guy. And, he
Mm-hmm.
gives to dogs. They give every portion from Puerto Rico, saving them. And we're going Sunday for autism to a picnic or a bike race event. So, I think that people do want to give back and it's out there. I think it should be molded into marketing a little bit more. I think
Mm-hmm.
it should be presented, more out there that, hey, what do you do? Oh, I do this, but what do you do for the community? Right in a conversation when we're networking. Like not just, oh, hey, what do you do? Oh, I do this business wise, but oh, I also do this charity. Cause I noticed also a lot of people do have charities or they have organizations where they give back in a way once you open them up. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's
Yeah.
out there a lot,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
think so. It's just how do we engage it? And I think a lot, I'm just saying from our perspective with, us with the Murray Foundation hiring a new executive director, one of the things that we've talked about is there are companies out there that have been giving to things, it's just kind of, hey, we give here, we give here, we give here. We feel that there's more leadership trying to really be focused in areas that are of impact, right? I think that people can give to you United Way or Red Cross, whatever, and all those things are great. But when someone is able to
Yeah.
connect with something personally, and say, I really
Yeah.
see the value in investing in this or donating to this personally, like that's where we
Yeah.
kind of see a shift in what we're doing as well. Because, you know, a lot of people nowadays with the way the economy is and stuff like that, they want to make sure the dollars that they're donating are going to the place that they want them to go to. And so I feel what you're saying, like we need to
Sure.
engage more in marketing with that as well. So you kind of, you feel the same way on that?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think that there's an opportunity to do more there. I feel like they didn't have it promoted or a company may not have as promoted as much or maybe uniquely molded in. But yeah, I think there's a lot of avenues that could happen with that for sure in the
Yeah, for
business
sure.
realm. I
So
agree.
I'm gonna ask you this, man. So, everybody sees a smiling face, they hear all the positive stuff, but with every journey, there's twists and turns, there's ups and downs. Has there been moments where
Oh
you've
yeah.
been discouraged with, at least introducing the ride to wave or trying to get traction for it? Because, like I said, we
Yeah.
we we love to promote the great things, but behind the scenes, there's those moments of agony where you're like, am I really supposed to be doing this? So have you run into anything
Yeah.
like that?
Oh man, I'll tell you what, when you take on your purpose and you have an alignment with God, it does not mean that life is going to be easy.
Right.
In fact, I think it means that it's going to be more challenging in a way, but in an amazing way, if you're centered your core with the faith. I realized truly that faith was where the fight was. There were some times that I can't explain. I was literally on the brink, whether it be financially. I had to walk away from NCK Equipment, was a previous job or a company that I owned before. A couple like small innocent mistakes that led to cash flow gap, tariffs. But I realized that I thought it was the end of the world then. I mean, when the
Right.
vision hit too, Kristen, my wife, carrying me to the couch after those visions hit. We had to delay our honeymoon. I was so gung ho about it. My friends didn't understand it. I lost some friendships. Gosh, there were looking back, there were so many times where I thought it was the end. And those delays felt like forever. They were
Hmm.
like, oh man, but now I realize, and I know you know this from the group, that what I was being seasoned for, especially this year, is presence. And I was getting ahead of myself sometimes and then, burning out or doing certain things. So I think that God was readjusting for myself and it's never going to be what you think too. It's never a
Hmm.
straight line. I thought it's going to go there. It'll only be a couple of years. I mean, I had this whole thing and nope. It's like, wait, you are not the one that's in control here. You have to humble
Yeah.
yourself, get in it, you know?
Absolutely. I say that because with some of the things I'm doing, there's been opportunities that have kind of arisen like out of the blue, right? Like we didn't know like
Yeah.
the opportunity here or an opportunity there with our project would come up. And so one of the things I constantly say to myself is reel it back in, reel it back in,
Yeah.
stay
It's tough.
focused on the main thing, right? Stay focused on the main thing. Don't get ahead of yourself. But it's super hard, especially when you get some momentum and like all these things start flowing in. You feel almost like, okay, well, I didn't have these opportunities before. Maybe I should jump at them right now. And I feel the hardest thing
Yeah.
is to reel yourself back in. And it seems like you felt that
Yeah.
too.
And yeah, absolutely. I think having a really good network a good people around. They say you're the 5 people you surround yourself with that you could vent to, and also, really a positive network where people are bringing each other up. You're saying, "Hey, man, get it." I have to say, Kenyon, I really appreciate our friendship, and you inspire me through the group, and I feel like this is such a great opportunity for me to be on the show. So, one hand washes the other when you have those connections. That's extremely important too. I think, somebody that
Yeah.
knows you slows you down, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, yeah, we hold each other, we definitely hold each other accountable to things. And I think men need that. You need to have a group of men like
Yeah.
that you can be vulnerable
Yeah.
with, that you can share with, like the highs and the lows. Like you have to have someone to be able
Right.
to talk to. And so, yeah, the winning edge. And that flows, it's a question. So I'm gonna read it. So like the winning edge, like people don't know just how this thing is growing. And, Thomas Williams
Yeah.
started it off and it's been amazing. But I wrote this down. It said that the winning edge, we often talk about becoming the best versions of ourselves. For someone listening today who wants to make a greater impact in their family, their workplace, or community, what is one mindset you feel that they need to either shift or embrace to become that version that God has meant for us to be?
I think that, and something I'm always working on, discipline, and that surrender, like I mentioned before, sort of that humble surrender and being disciplined. The work is not going to get itself done.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, and I've been guilty of it in the past, you go off a feeling of when you want to do something or when you get that. So the hardest part is going through it when you don't want to, and getting past that. So I would say that expect to work to people, because I notice sometimes in the community, I think that they don't want to, get that pain of discipline. So you're either going to get two types of pain in life: is the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. I'd much rather the pain of discipline now than look back and regret or face God and be like, "Hey, you didn't, wasn't that
Yeah.
good?"
Yeah. Part of my Bible study this morning was, and it said, it was in Colossians 3. It was about work like you're working for the Lord and not for people. And if
Yeah,
you
that's
take
good.
that mentality, right, it's like, I think so many of us would be like, whoa, my work ethic is not very good if that's the case. And I've
Yeah,
been guilty of it as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's a, when you talk about walking in your purpose and you talk about the plan that God has laid out for you, we don't know what that is. We don't control it, but I
yeah,
think we can embrace it. And if you embrace it with the mindset that I'm working for a higher power, that I'm working to help bring more people to the kingdom, whichever way it is, I think it would change the
yeah,
mentality and it would change the way people move and work. But I think that's a hard concept for people to say, because as humans, it's hard for us to have faith in something that we can't see, and we have to go off of
yeah. I
feel
got,
and
I
things
got
like
one.
that. Go ahead.
Yeah, too. I got one. Tomorrow, when you wake up, everybody that you encounter, treat as if that individual was Jesus himself. So basically, if your wife is doing the dishes, whatever, what would you do? You would help her out with the dishes. If Jesus was walking, would you open the door for him? If he was homeless, would you? And I'll tell you, like I did that once, and it did something to me. And you're right about that sort of alignment. That's a daily thing, I think. And
Mhm.
that happens in the morning, or like whatever people choose to do, read scripture. But yeah, you nailed it. What you said. It's that we step into a realm. If Jesus was resurrected at first and nobody really noticed him, I think that you could step into a new paradigm on the inside, transform yourself, and at first people will just not know it. And then you
Mhm.
eventually walk into it if you keep your faith up and if you do those type of things. So I really have changed. I'm not the same person. Can't even relate to myself 3 years ago. But it's
Mhm.
beautiful though. I mean, it's an amazing journey. And our jobs are to bring as many spirits to heaven. And that's what it is. It is the kingdom work, like we're saying.
So Jeff, on the heels of that, I have to ask, like, I tell people the story all the time. Like sometimes you have to get kicked in the gut for something to happen. And, in 2018, my
Yeah.
wife sent me a text message that our marriage was over, right? And it was a watershed moment
Oh,
where I had to make a decision on whether I wanted to be the same version of me that she didn't want to be with, or was I going to evolve into something that she could stay married to, for one, be proud of, and then really grow into the role or the purpose that God had laid for me. And so, you've talked about that, and I talk about how important my wife is. So tell me about how important your wife has been, because, you talk about the support, you talk about, the things that other people thought that you were crazy about and they walked away from you, but you had her. Tell me how important it's been to have her support as you pursue all this, because like you said, it hasn't been easy, ups and downs, winding roads.
Yeah.
What has she meant to the Jeff Fisher that's sitting in front of us today?
Well, I'm so glad you asked me that. And shout out to Kristen, my beautiful wife, because without her, man, I can get emotional. Somebody that could be by my side, and I could definitely have my moments. And, I was so passionate and there was so much behind it. There was so much turmoil at times and so many ups and downs and unknown with finances and stuff like that. And we are about 2.5 years even lived in. So we haven't been married too long.
Mm-hmm.
So this came when we were dating. I came to faith, and all this happened right before we got married. So for somebody who's not a believer, or surrounding my friends and family who are not, it was very much like people thought I was kind of going crazy there. But she has been somebody, like, she's my rock, man. I'll come home and make a mess in the house. Like, she's very, very patient. She's very good. It's great sense of humor. I tell you, I don't know if I would have stayed, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when someone sticks by you like that, it's definitely true love. And I really want to make it up to her and be the best man I can. And when I surround myself with people such as yourself, Kenyon, and men in winning edge, and I look up to people like Ed Milet and John, and John Maxwell, and all those men that, like, I know, I want to get in that world and really help others. I think that family and me being I'd be such a hypocrite not to be. So I definitely have to work on that, the marriage aspect. But yeah, I really appreciate her. She's been through a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
To say the least.
One of the things, being married now almost 28 years, once
Oh
again,
wow.
thank you to Michelle for sticking it out with me. I joke with her all the time now, still, like, do you, are,
Yeah.
you're still working on me, right? Like, you're still working. She's like, I know you're still a work in progress, but, but that's what God created them for. They created them to be our support, to protect our heart, to protect our, our mind and our
Yeah.
soul. And when you find someone that you align with in that way, I mean, it changes who you
Yeah.
are, and it gives you so much more confidence to become the version that you're supposed to become
Yeah.
when you have someone supporting you like that. So, yeah, shout out to Kristen, man.
Yeah.
That's so awesome that you
Yeah.
found her for sure. So I'm gonna ask you this question. So I'm gonna stay on the whole marriage thing, right? So I always ask my
Yeah.
guests this question. Okay, so you have a bucket list trip. You guys can do anything, go anywhere for a week. Where would you take her and why?
Oh man. Anywhere?
Anywhere.
I would. I know that she really has always wanted to go to Paris. So I do go really, really nice French, probably like France, and travel all France, make sure that I do a nice romantic place, get a nice spot and do the whole Eiffel Tower, stuff like that. I know that's been something she's always wanted to do. So I would probably do that. But there's also like Fiji. There's such nice places. We like the islands, but I would say Paris and France.
Nice. No, that's awesome. My wife loves, she just got scuba certified last year. And that's the one thing that I said, because she has backed so many of my harebrained ideas that I told her that's one thing I can do. So
Yeah.
I am looking at getting scuba certified this year so I can dive with her. But yeah, man, when you can share those
Oh,
kind of
nice.
experiences, yeah, when you can share those kind of experiences with the person you love, like it makes it all the better, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it gets tough. I mean, we get caught up in sometimes, when we're working on such big visions, or, you're pursuing it. I think it's important to take the time to be grateful too. And sometimes I pump the brakes. I'm on the couch and lean back, and we got a little kitten that's 1 year old. And I'm just like, thank God, like the safety of my home, got AC right now. We have so many blessings. One of the
Yeah.
things that I think that the issues is, like, society in general, too many blessings, not enough appreciation, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man. I mean, it's you got to appreciate waking up in the morning. Like it starts there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
but looks like Paris is where we're going.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, hey, I'm gonna ask you this, as we look to close the show. One, what's kind of the next steps for Ride the Wave? Obviously, you talked about, taking a position with ACT and business development. I know that takes away a little
Yeah.
bit of time for what you're doing, but what's the next step for Ride the Wave?
Yeah, thanks. And real quick, so we're going to build out a campus. In order to get there, we have Wave Transportation, which is going to fill in a gap. People can't get to some appointments on time. Wave Outreach is really where it's at. We're looking to hire somebody in Wave in the outreach section, where one, we could pump that up on social media to get the word out. On the back end, it'll allow me to leverage relationships and sort of get to a donation. So we need a donation to hire her, build that trust in the community. Slowly on Saturdays, what I do is I go to the mission. It's very difficult for me, so we need a fractional social media manager right now. I'll take some copy and then do really things myself, try to schedule it during the week. So I need some help there. And then, once I'm able to really break through slowly, we have a show today, actually, another show for Wavemaker podcast. Somebody gave us a donation for that. So I have a community podcast and also a business one with Javon. So, my coworker. So, I think that's the plan right now. And then Project Dignity is going to be a temporary live-in for a selected few people to test out the curriculum of Wavemaker mentorship to segue into the campus. And I've been on the back end just trying to do that as well. So yeah, there's a bit of delay with the new position I had to take for finances, but they do know I'm working on the foundation. They like it too. And it won't overlap. I'll make sure of that. But definitely could use that outreach person and the social media manager.
Yeah, well, I think we got a pretty good network in the Winning Edge. So I think you need to throw that out to the group. And I know that one or more of us will definitely step up to be able to help, because that's what the group is all about. And so on that note, Jeff, I really want to say thank you for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. But tell people where they can go to get more information about Ride the Wave and your Wavemaker project.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's simple. Just go to ridethewave.org, O-R-G. Everything's on there. All the links to the show, the book, gives a description of what we're doing, access to all our social media. So you can go to the website to check everything out.
And on that note, if you got anything out of the podcast, you enjoyed it, please share the podcast, like, subscribe, turn those notifications on so you know when the next show is going to air. And until next time, let's keep connecting. The Leave Your Legacy podcast is brought to you by Storyline Multimedia. Storyline is an Iowa City-based media company that creates high-quality video, photo, and audio for local businesses. They produce a number of great podcasts, including this one. If you're interested in sharing your story, please contact them at storylinemultimedia.com. And remember, your story matters. Don't chase, attract. Welcome to Verve, a creative sanctuary built for brands seeking depth, not noise. They create with intention, publish with purpose, and believe the best ideas take time. If the internet is noise, Verve is the signal. They don't interrupt attention, they earn it. At Sportsman Solutions, they believe sports facilities are more than buildings. They're the heart of a community. Whether it's planning, development, or day-to-day operations, their team helps turn vision into reality, because the future of sports starts with the spaces that bring communities together. Every journey forward begins with hope. At On With Life, hands, hearts, and minds come together to help individuals living with brain injury and neurological conditions reclaim their independence and rediscover what's possible. Because healing isn't just about recovery, it's about getting on with life.